Hey everyone, Mac here. We are going to now learn about how to solve equations. If you notice, we just got out of doing a bunch of factoring, and right now, you're going to see this equals 0 right here, which we didn't have equals 0 before. All we were doing before is we were just doing a bunch of simplifying and stuff, but now we're actually going to solve. So let me show you what that means. So the first thing you want to do, anytime you're looking to solve a problem, you want to see if you can factor anything out. So right here, I'm looking at this, and remember when we were solving by greatest common factoring, I can pull out of this, let me make this a little bigger, a 3x, and I'm left with an x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so here's the deal. I have this times that. What happens if you multiply something by a 0? If you do that, the whole thing equals 0. So if I can make 3x equals 0, then I'm going to have 0 times whatever. It doesn't matter what that is, and I'm going to get it to be 0. Same thing, if I take the x minus 5 and I make that equal to 0, then I'm going to have a 0 here, and whatever 3x is doesn't matter. I'm going to win. So watch, if I divide each side by 3, I'm going to get x equals 0 as an answer, but if I add 5 to both sides, I'm also going to get x equals 5. That's okay. It's okay to have two answers. All right, if you plug them in, you'll see that they both work. Okay, and that's really all we're doing here. So we're going to pull out a greatest common factor, and then we're going to take each factor, meaning it's being multiplied, and we're going to make them equal to 0. All right, so let's go on, and I want to blow this up a bit because I didn't give a lot of room to do some work. So right here, I'm going to pull out a 5x, and I'm going to be left with an x minus 5 equals 0. 5x equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0. X equals 0. And once I add 5 to both sides, you're going to see that x equals 5. Now, you'll start to notice that if I get a parenthesis x minus 5, my answer is going to be 5. If I get something times x, my answer is going to be 0, okay? But I don't want us to get in the habit of skipping steps, so I'm just going to go through with it because it doesn't take a lot of extra time. But look at that one. I was going to get an x minus 2, isn't it? So now 7x equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0, and my answer will be 0 and 2. Okay, well, I guess I did skip a little bit right there, but I hope you see that. I'm just trying to find something that makes it 0. Here I'm going to pull out a 9x, and I'm going to be left over with x minus 5. So now I'm going to write 9x equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0. My answer is going to be 0 and positive 5, okay, because 5 minus 5 is 0. I'm going to go on now to number 9. I'm going to pull out a 2. Whoa, what happened there? I'm going to pull out a 2x, and I'm going to be left with an x minus 8 equals 0. So 2x equals 0. X minus 8 equals 0. My answers are 0 and 8. Okay, if I plug 8 in there, that's going to be 0. 0 times, I guess that would be 16, but who cares? It's going to be a 0. Here, I'm going to pull out a 15x. I'm going to be left with x minus 4 equals 0. So I'm going to get 15x equals 0, and x minus 4 equals 0, which will give me a 0 and a 4 as my answer. Okay, now this one, remember, you want to pull out the biggest number you can, okay, to make this really work. And here I can see I can pull out a 16 and an x. So I'm going to be left with x minus 3 equals 0. So now 16x, I want him to equal 0, and I want x minus 3 to equal 0. So my answer is going to be 0 and 3. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other side. Here I can pull out a 4x, and I'm going to be left with x plus 5 equals 0. You can see right now that 0 and 5 are going to be my answers. Okay, right here I'm going to pull out a 6x. X plus 3 equals 0. My answers are 0. And watch this, negative 3. Now, remember when I said I was going to skip some steps and maybe that wasn't the wisest idea? Well, maybe I'm going to go back here and fix the mistake I made. 4x equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0. If I divide each side by 4, here I'm going to get x equals 0. But since I skipped a step, guess what I missed? Boom, die. X equals negative 5. Remember, it's got to be the opposite side. So if I have an x plus 3, I need a minus 3 in order to make it a 0. Okay, let's do this one. I'm going to pull out an 8x, and I'm going to be left with x plus 4 equals 0. I'm going to get 0 and negative 4 as my answers to make those equal to 0. Number 8, I'm going to pull out a 10x, and I'm going to be left with an x plus 4 equals 0. My answers will be 0 and negative 4. Number 10, I'm going to go slower on this one. I don't want to blow anybody out of the water here. Make sure you understand. 12x, and I'm going to be left with an x plus 2 equals 0. So I'm going to get 12x equals 0, and I'm going to get x plus 2 equals 0, and then I'm going to divide each side by 12, and I'm going to get x equals 0. And here I'm going to subtract 2 to both sides, and I'm going to get x equals negative 2. Okay? Let's go on to number 12. 14 will go in the 42 3 times, okay? So I'm going to get 14x. What's left over? X plus 3 equals 0. My answers will be 0 and negative 3. And the last one, I can pull out an 18x, and I'm going to be left with x plus 3. So I'm going to get 0 and negative 3 as my two answers, okay? So I started off slow, and I kept going a little bit quicker as I went, but hopefully you guys understand what this is and how this works. So this would be factoring, solving by factoring out the greatest common factor. Then you take the factors and you make them all equal to 0, and that's how we would solve these. I do have a version B, and I do have a version C, so take a look at those if you'd like to see some more. But if you feel really good about this, I think you're ready to go on to the next section, all right? Good job, guys.